All right, it's recording.
All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we'd like to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh,
Yahawah,
Bahashem,
BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI,
Yahawashi,
BAHASHAM,
Bahashem,
RAWCHAA.
Rakakwadah. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. And salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. And the elect begins with the 144,000. Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God and Jehovah. Bahashem is in the name. Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. The Rakakwadah, which is the Holy Spirit. We're the brothers of the Great Millstone Chicago camp. I'm the brother I will join with.
It's the brother AHPARYAM.
Come back at you, brothers and sisters at a household of faith of the Hope for Right Select with another lesson. And Lord, when we hope this lesson be edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Shai. Once again, we hope this lesson is edifying. You know, we're only what's this, 9 days into 2026, and the Lord is doing a lot of things, man. And one of those big things that we're seeing is what, civil unrest. You know, we're going to get it ultimately what division between American allies, man. You know, ultimately when Donald Trump, DJT, ultimately invaded Venezuela. You know, ultimately kidnapping the president of Venezuela, taking the oil and such. You know, you got countries, even America's own allies saying, what the hell is going on? Because America, is arrogant at this point. America is proud. Basically, ultimately of what they're doing, man. Ultimately the Lord is ultimately dividing up NATO, and the EU, man. That's what we're seeing in these last days, man. But
You got that Revelation 17?
actually say that Revelation 17 real quick. Get Second Ezra 9 just to set the tone real quick.
I got you. This is 2 Ezra 9:1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made.
And how do we measure the times? By the way of the prophecies, man. We link these different articles up with prophecy, man. Ultimately what? We link these, said things that's happening in the world back to prophecy. And ultimately what? America's allies turned against this place as a part of prophecy, man. Uproars of the people is a part of prophecy, man. Great division, which Yahweh Shemel Shai is bringing towards this Edomite structure. It's a part of prophecy, man. And that's how we ultimately measure the times, by the way of prophecy, man. And Yahweh Shemel Shai is making big chess moves, man.
That's right. It says, therefore, verse 3, 2 Ezra 9:3, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning.
Right. Uproars of the people, man. Almost every country that you look in is some type of uproar, man. Everybody is up in arms right now, man. Hey, things is getting expensive. Ultimately what America is doing, invading these different smaller countries, man. Ultimately what is uproars of the people in these different said lands, man. In Venezuela, you got the our people down there in Venezuela actually cheering that they got this guy Donald Trump, not Donald Trump, but the president
Maduro.
of Venezuela, Maduro, out of office, but not knowing what America's about to do to their country, man, because they already took their oil. What America is about to do, to their country, they're about to extort them, man. Extort our people. You have a lot of people ultimately rejoicing down there in Venezuela, but not knowing what's about to happen, man. And another thing, another fact too, that Venezuela was one of those countries that didn't have a
Central bank.
Yep.
So they weren't really aligned with the beast system.
Yep.
With the Amalekites who control the central banks and who control everything.
Mm-hmm.
It says, verse 5, for like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest.
Right, the end is being made known, man. Because of the different prophecies that we're seeing right now, man. The Lord is ultimately, destroying Esau's kingdom, man. He's dividing it, man. He's destroying this place economically, man. And we know Esau's last hurrah is that microchip, which is the mark of the beast, man. That's Esau's last hurrah. Because the scripture says he had bounds that he cannot pass, man. You know,
Con.
so Esau is essentially scrambling right now, man. You know, that's how we know that we're at his end right now, because 2nd Ezra 6 says what? For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, man. We're seeing this man lose his kingdom right before our eyes.
That's right. Verse 6, it says, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs.
And that's what we're seeing in these last days, man.
And everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby ye have believed.
Right, so our works and our faith go hand in hand, man. You know, our lessons, going on the highways and byways, that's ultimately showing, you know, forth our faith by our works. But that was pretty much into that 2nd Ezra 9. Anything you had, Isaiah, you can get it. But have that Revelations 17 on deck too. But anything you got it out.
I got the Revelation 17. And this chapter is entitled, you know, the doom of Babylon. Okay, so this is showing you the judgment of the fourth beast, you know, of America, which is known as Babylon the Great, which is like the...
man, we're at the... It's lucky to cut you off, brother. We're at the end of the fourth beast, man. Because if you know anything about history, when the fourth beast came into power, which is the ancient Roman Empire, man, it ultimately went down for a season. You know, and ultimately during the Renaissance, where what's that, Malachi 1 and 4, you know, when they shall build, I will throw down. They shall call them the foot of wickedness. You know, that Malachi 1 and 4, when Esau came back into power in the Renaissance period, Revelation talks about the same thing, his daily wound being healed. So we're in the second leg of the Roman Empire, man, you know, which is the fourth beast. You know, America is the Roman Empire coming back, man.
That's right. And just like how the Roman Empire had vassal states, the revived Roman Empire is the same thing, man, you know, through NATO and the EU. All right, because right here it talks about the 10 horns. The 10 horns of the beast going into is vassal states. Right, because what do we see? We see Trump bucking up against them, right? Saying his look was more stout than his fellows, man. You know, you need us, we don't need you, right? That kind of thing, right?
Have you seen what he said to what was that a few months back? How he belittled Zelensky,
right?
You know, the president of Ukraine. You know about the ordeal with Russia or whatnot. You know, that's how how prideful this place is, man. Hey, Donald Trump, man. Hey, this guy's arrogant. This guy's proud, man. You know, after this whole ordeal with Maduro, you know, ultimately kidnapping the president, which we know to be an inside job anyways.
Right.
But ultimately, you know, this guy's arrogant. This guy's proud. You know, even according to the scripture, we can have that on deck too. But you got it, Isaiah.
Con. And, you know, back, like, for example, when they invaded Iraq and Afghanistan and these countries, they really put up a lie and a pretense of like why they were doing it. You know, they were, well, we're fighting terrorism, this and that. But when you listen to how Marco Rubio and the Secretary of State and the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, when you listen to how they were really talking about Venezuela, like they just didn't care. Like they were just saying like, yeah, we're going up in there. You know, we've quarantined their oil, you know, so we're going to take control. Trump said that this could last for years. Right. So you can tell they have intentions of taking over and expanding, and they're trying to solidify the entire Western Hemisphere and Greenland.
Because I believe Habakkuk said, I believe it's Habakkuk the 2nd chapter. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. You know, so everywhere America goes, man, they set these different military bases up, man, and ultimately they basically they're other countries' ordeals, man, that have nothing to do with them.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, the scriptures say the second woe is past and the third woe cometh quickly. So it's talking about the world wars. And we can clearly see that all the geopolitical powers are shifting into the teams for World War III.
Yep.
Right? Like it's already pretty much solidified. Trump doesn't seem like he's really rocking with the European countries so much, but it seems like more of their interest is over here in the Western Hemisphere. Yep. You know, and Greenland. So ultimately, this is all just biblical prophecy, man. The vassals of Rome, of America, are going to hate it, and it's going to be World War III, man. The sides are already picked.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it says Revelation 17, and 15. And he saith unto me, the whore, or Slaki, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So that's speaking of America sitting upon the two oceans and the waters. Also, we know it represents people in the scriptures. And this is the melting pot.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. America is the melting pot. All nations are here in Babylon the Great, which is America, man. You know?
God. Right. Peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. So this is clearly speaking of America. And it says, verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, key point, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire.
And right, what is that beast, man? Hey, NATO and the EU, you know, NATO, and you got the European Union, man. You know, ultimately, in that woman being America, that whore being America. You know, because you have America at the edge, you know, of NATO and the EU, man.
Exactly.
You know, because America is the hammer of the whole earth, man. You know, because America, you know, ultimately is the, you know, the how can I say it? It's the running force of NATO and the EU, man.
Exactly.
You know, the powerhouse.
Yep. Babylon is funding, you know, most of the military. Same for the state of Israel. Right. That's, you know, that's pretty much what NATO was. It was a treaty to go against Russia, so Russia wouldn't get too powerful. But you know, these Edom, and Russians are Edomites too, but they have a different role in end time prophecy, because now they're in the stead of the Medes, man, Gog and Magog.
Yep.
So
and
even though Russia,
you gotta finish your point.
No, yeah, I'm just saying, because even though Russians are Edomites, they're not part. They're against the beast system. They're aligned with the other side, which is Ezekiel 36. You know.
Yeah, what's that? It says, Russia, they shall be a guard unto them. You know, talking about Russia, man. You know, these different countries that's allied with Russia. Russia is going to be a guard to them. And just to talk about NATO and the EU real quick in that Revelation, the 17th chapter. You know, a lot of these, you know, NATO and the EU, you know, they're smaller countries or whatnot, man. So ultimately, when it says the beast shall hate the whore, they're going to eventually side with Russia, man, because the things that America is doing is driving them away. You know, and ultimately, to ultimately to have somebody on their side, they're going to be allied with Russia, man. And everybody's going to come up against, you know, the United States, which is Babylon the Great, and Israel, man. You know, the whole world is ultimately going to come up against America, Babylon the Great, and Israel, man. They're going to be the last two, you know, fighting, you know, while everybody else, you know, attacking them, man. It's only going to be America and Israel, man.
Exactly.
You know,
the least of the flock shall draw them out.
Yep.
Hey, and Russia has a huge role in end time prophecy, because they really tip the scale. You know what I mean? They really even out the scale, because if Russia was aligned with the beast with the rest of the Edomites, you know, it would be a completely different picture. But with Russia being a guard onto the smaller nations, it really revved up the rest of the world to go against America, you know.
Yep.
So verse 17 says, for the Most High God hath put in their hearts, see the Most High God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of the Most High God shall be fulfilled.
Yep. And you want to know what this reminded me of? When these Edomites, you know, are divided as they are now, it reminds me of when Alexander's generals, you know, ultimately began to put crowns upon themselves, man. How they was fighting against one another, you know, and things of that nature. I believe that's Maccabees, the 1st chapter. You know, they was fighting each other. Ultimately, for you know, those lands over there in the so-called, you know, Middle East. You know what you get, the 6 Syrian wars. You know, ultimately, you know, you had these Edomites ultimately fighting for power, fighting for land, man. And ultimately, the Lord is putting that spirit back in the air where these Edomites don't agree. You know.
Yep. Verse 18. But see, even because if you even read up, it says they had power 1 hour with the beast, or they got to reign 1 hour. So that was all the Most High's will. They were aligned for a time, but now in World War III, they're no longer going to be aligned.
Yep.
You see. So it says, the woman which thou sawest is that great city, America, which reigneth over the kings of the earth, like the brother quoted, the hammer of the whole earth. Babylon, Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, man, the revived Roman Empire.
Yeah, because just to give that analogy, right? I'm gonna just make this analogy real quick. When something is a hammer and it's constantly beating down on something, it's oppressing it. That's what America does. You hammer hard, you're basically in a normal sense, you basically applying it to the situation. It's oppressing that nail, man, and that nail is everybody else. And that hammer being America. America is just oppressing everybody, man. Beating it down, taking everything that it has, man, resources. That's what this devil is ultimately doing. DJT, at the helm of America, man. That pride, that arrogance, man. And ultimately what? Even America's own allies is starting to hate it, man.
That's right, bro. You want that Daniel 7?
Yeah, what's that? More stout than all his fellows?
I believe that's, let me see. Let me just pull it right up. Yeah, Daniel 7:20. Okay, because this is speaking of that same beast, the fourth beast, which is the Roman Empire that we just read about in Revelation 17. Okay, so it says Daniel 7:19. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which is Rome, which was diverse from all others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, right, and nails of brass, their military power, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up. All right, this is America, which came up out of the British, right?
Yep.
And before whom 3 fell, the Spanish.
Yeah, you had the Spanish, the British, and you had the French.
Yep. So that was America, that horn that came up and pushed out those 3 to take over the continent, basically. It says, to what? To establish Babylon the Great, to establish America. It says, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows.
Right, whose look was more stout than his fellows, man. You got America's pride and arrogancy talking about his own allies, man. America, it's like you talking shit to your own friends, man. That has been down with you since day one. You talking shit and this motherfucker ain't shit. You right by him, you right by him, Magic. Yeah, you saying this motherfucker ain't shit. The reason why he's here is because of me. That's essentially what America is saying, man. Trump was saying, I believe you had said it earlier, I buy it. What did Donald Trump say? Y'all need us. We don't need you.
Right.
So that's America's pride and arrogancy that is showing to his allied countries.
Exactly, and that's that look being more stout than his fellows, because those Edomites don't act like that, man. That you don't see them talking like Trump. Okay, and this is the word for stout, which is Rob, which is like great, captain, the chief. So they think that they're the Lord, they're the master of the earth, man. All right, everything's gonna have to flow through America. You're gonna have to submit to our will, so on and so forth. That's how America has always been. Well, especially after World War II, after the first 2 world wars, when America basically came out in the best position of anyone, Yep.
And another side, and I gotta look more into it. Now Donald Trump is saying he gonna do the same thing to Mexico, man. After what happened to Maduro. So ultimately, what? You got it, Ibaya.
Well, I was just gonna say they're talking about making Canada the 51st state. They're talking now. They went into Venezuela. Okay, Mexico is on the border. Greenland. Yep. They were talking about Colombia as well. Yep. So it seems like they're starting to try to take over the whole Western Hemisphere because they know that the allies they don't really have any allies anymore on the other side.
And right, this is the will of Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, man. And ultimately, America is ultimately, paying its own demise because you're making enemies of individuals on your borders. Canada, Mexico, people that's, around your area, man, that's on your borders. You know, that's how you know it's the will of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, man. You know, this devil is so arrogant that ultimately they don't even know what they're doing, man. That they're ultimately making a bigger hole for themselves.
God, it's all end time prophecy.
Yep.
The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI.
You get the other one in Daniel 2, it talks about part iron, part clay.
Yep. Okay, let's go down to Rome in Daniel 2 and 40.
Yep.
Okay, verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay.
Yep, and that's what we're seeing right now, man, because we're at the feet of the statue right now. What was that? The statue that Nebuchadnezzar had the dream of, that he wanted Daniel ultimately to break down for him. But that's where we're ultimately at, man. And these different pieces of the statue represents different parts of the candles, man. You had the Neo-Assyrian Babylonian Empire. You had Babylon, as I just said. You had the Persian Medes. You had Greece. You had the ancient Roman Empire. And ultimately, what we're at the feet, you know, as it says, part iron, part clay, you know, which is the you know, NATO and the EU and America's allies, man. You know, America, you know, and that's where we're at right now, man. You know, ultimately, what the Lord is dividing it, man, because iron and clay don't stick. You know, you try to mold it together, it doesn't stick, man. You know, so the Lord is ultimately breaking it up, man. You know, the alliances with that America has with these different countries of NATO and the EU, man. The Lord is ultimately what dividing it, man.
Because there was really nothing holding them together anyway. The only thing they really had in common was the oppression of Israel and the oppression of, you know, the rest of the nations. So, you know, they were happy to take part in that and to kind of reap the spoils and reap the benefits of all the oppression and slaughter and war that America did. But now America's losing its power. The whole thing is basically, you know, it's kind of crumbling. You can see the whole thing is crumbling.
Yep.
And it says, verse 41, and where, go ahead, bro. Salakia.
No, it's infighting. You know, it's infighting happening between the Edomite power structure, man. They're fighting once against the other, man. You know? And that's what, you know, Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI is doing, man. You know, just like Alexander's generals and their predecessors after them, man, began to fight, you know, for different lands and things like that. Because that's what Esau's nature is, man. You know, he screws over his own people. You know, they can't work together, man. You know, that's the spirit that Esau Edom is in. And that's what the spirit that Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI is bringing back on these. That was that division.
That's right, bro. So it's verse 42. And as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with the miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay.
Right. So iron and clay doesn't bind, man. And that's what we're seeing right now, you know, as prophecy continue to speak, man. America is, you know, coming up against its own allies, man. You talking shit. It's like you talking shit to your best friend right in front of you. Right, he's right there, right in front of you, man. So eventually, what? They gonna say, hey, fuck all this shit, man. Hey, they gonna turn their backs on America, man, and ultimately ally with Russia.
Exactly.
And that's what we're gonna see as we, you know, as we continue throughout the year, and as America, you know, as prophecy continues to speak, man. You know, that's what we're gonna continue, man. That division.
And we're really seeing it because the hemispheres are basically splitting.
Yeah.
You know, like NATO's kind of falling apart. You know, the EU is not really aligned with America. America's trying to make its own moves on the Western side. And ultimately, that's why the prophecy states that America is going to get hit with thermonuclear missiles.
Yeah.
You know, because all that being said, it still would be very difficult to invade America because it's such a vast country. You would have to travel so far with troops across the ocean and things like that. But with those missiles, Russia just demonstrated their ICBM's powers, man. They didn't have warheads on it, but they showed how quickly that delivery system is and that is ready. Hypothetically, they had a nuclear warhead on that, it wouldn't have been stopped. See?
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have been stopped.
Yep.
You know, that's why it says they will burn her with fire. Because it's ultimately going to have to be ICBMs, bro. You know?
Exactly right. You know, even in Joel, the 3rd chapter, it talks about that. Let the weak say I'm strong, man. You know? These different smaller countries have a nuclear capability, man. And best believe when the NATO and the EU, you know, America's own allies, you know, allied with Russia, man, just best believe they're going to have some too, man. You know?
And even before,
you got it up.
I was just going to say, even before it gets to that point, because that's like the grand finale, even before it gets to that point, there's going to be further sedition within America itself. And America itself is going to enter into a martial law state. You know, it's going to experience famines. It's going to experience intense tribulations. All right. And ultimately and out of that chaos, they're going to try to implement the microchip.
Yep. And what's that? Order app KO? You know, it's the problem, and then ultimately come in with the solution, man.
Because second Ezra's 15. Also, go ahead, bro. Select.
No, you all good. Just to say, also, man, even within within America, man, is division, man. You know, because even talking about this whole situation with ICE, that I believe they end up killing or shooting a woman, man.
Yeah,
and also, you see mass protests and mass riots right now as we speak. You know,
right? They shot a woman who was like driving away.
Yeah.
So
I think a report said that she tried to hit an ICE agent. That's besides the point, but it's just to say, you know, that, you know, talking about the division, man, you got the right against the left. You know, you got so-called black against white. You know, we know that's a social construct, man, but the Lord is dividing everything on all aspects, man. You know, America's own allies, man, you know, coming up against this place, or America coming up against its allies, you know. And this is what we're seeing right now, man, as we, you know, exit out of this man's kingdom. You know, because Esau's kingdom is finished, man. We're at the last few seconds of Esau's kingdom. As they say, man, you're running on fumes. This place is running on fumes, man. We're waiting on the last major big prophecy, you know, because World War III has essentially started, man. We're waiting on the last major prophecy, and things is going to go like this, which is what? The MOTV, man, the RFID chip, you know, for it to be pushed worldwide.
I got second Ezra's 15.
You got it up.
And this is verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men. All right, we're seeing sedition, man. All right, the ICE is ramping up, whether that was a psyop, whether she died or not, whether they were actors. The point is, it still happened, and they're still framing and setting up the sedition. So it says, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power.
Mm-hmm. So they ain't gonna give a care what Donald Trump says, man.
No rule of law.
Yeah, they're not gonna care what their mayor is talking about. You know, they're not gonna care what their governor is talking about. You know, so they shall not regard their kings nor princes, man. You know, because what? You know, it's even shameful, man, that what you have, you know, so-called American citizens, because that's what she was. You know, ISIS, you know, detaining, you know, individuals that's American citizens, man. You know, and it's shameful what America is doing, man, to its own, you know, quote unquote people, man.
Mm-hmm. God. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. All right, checkpoints, right? Restricting the movement, martial law. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. So this is all because of the pride, man. This is judgment. It says the houses shall be destroyed and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation.
Right, so complete lawlessness, man. When all hell breaks loose, man, because even in Matthew 24, it talks about these are the beginning of sorrows. Mm-hmm. So everything that we're seeing right now, man, hey, It's not so. Hey, cause just imagine, if we have it to make it this long, compared to right now, compared to when the summertime gets here, man. Hey, this place is going to look completely different. You know how rampant prophecy is right now, man. We're only 9 days into 2026, man, and there's so much to talk about. You know, related to prophecy. You know, relating to the division between America and its allies. You know, between Russia, China, Iran, ultimately coming against America, man. You know, the situation that happened in Venezuela, and we're only 9 days into this year, man. So just imagine when the summer comes around, man, how different this place is going to look, man. How lawless this place is going to look. Hey, next month, hey, I'm talking about the summertime. Hey, tomorrow. You never know, man, because things is moving so fast.
It's hard to keep up with everything, man.
Yep.
This is Matthew 24:6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. All right, that's all we've been hearing for the last years, you know. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
Right, all this must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Why is the end not yet? Because we're still waiting on that major prophecy, which is the MOTB, man. You know, it's stages. It's stages to this, man.
Right.
You know. Because, look, you know how you prepare food? I'm going to just use this analogy. You know how you prepare food? You know, you turn the food on simmer, and then you turn it on high heat. You'll probably turn it on medium, you know, depending on what you're cooking, and then you'll turn it on high heat. You know, hey, what we're witnessing right now, we're in the beginning, man. You know? Things it's just going to start happening just like that, man.
Yep.
You know? But the end is not yet, man. We're waiting on that major prophecy, which is the MOTB, which is the RFID chip.
Right, going back to measuring the times, right? We understand that the end is not yet. We understand that the missiles aren't going to drop tomorrow, you know, until that chip comes, until the famine of the word before that. So it's going to go on. You know, it's really going to say it in verse 8, but this is verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places.
Yep. Pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Same thing what 2nd Ezra the 9th chapter says, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this is what we're witnessing right now, man. We're the generation where YAHAWASHI is about to make his second return, man.
Exactly.
As this bitch ass nigga Alazar said, it could be another 1,000 years. What? No, we're in the generation where YAHAWASHI is about to make his second return, and all things is about to be fulfilled, man.
Come on, bro. The third woe cometh quickly.
Yep.
So there's like what, 40, 50 years between the first and the second woes, and then there's 1,000 between the second and the third.
Yeah, according to this guy.
That's folly, bro. It says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Beginning.
Yep. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So everything we're witnessing right now, man, hey, it's about to get hot in the kitchen, man. You know? The things that's about to happen, man, we haven't seen anything yet. You got people complaining, bitching, moaning, crying online, making TikTok shorts of how hard things is getting. You know, with the situation what America is doing to these other nations and countries, man. Hey, we haven't seen nothing yet, man. Hey, wait till you start seeing people in your area get gunned down by the hundreds of thousands, man. Wait till you start seeing people eating one another. Wait till you start seeing a lot of these different things, man.
Shit, we still got the internet, bro. We still chopping it up over StreamYard. We're still going to Trader Joe's. I could turn on water right now. I'm pretty sure unlimited water is going to come out, but that's not going to be the case forever.
Yep. I'm at the location. I got one more scripture for you.
I got this. The word I just clicked into this word for beginning in the Greek. It's
I know Clifford wanted to join too. He said send a link.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I know I got to get off in a second. But if y'all want to keep going, y'all can. For the spirit.
God, this just to back you up, bro, because it says this is the beginning of sorrows. This is the origin of sorrows. This is what commences it. You see, so this is the origin of Star Wars. Like, basically, it's up there, stuck there. Like, it's set in motion. It's not gonna ever get better from this point on. Like, this is the beginning of Star Wars. Like, this is it. See, this is it, man. This is the origin. Like, is happening. The ship has sailed. You know. But yeah, Salaki, I got you though.
Yeah, I got one more scripture for you before I head out. Right by you, Jeremiah 51 talks about they shall point their arrows at Babylon. I believe it's the first of the chapter.
Yup, this is Jeremiah 51:1. Thus saith Yahawah, behold, I will raise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me, a destroying wind.
Yep, those missiles, man. You know, hey, Malachi 4:1 says, the day cometh, thou shalt burn as another. All the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubbled, man. You know? Everybody's going to aim their missiles at the problem, man. Because America is the root of the problem that's wrong with the whole world, man. You know? Everybody's going to aim their missiles at the problem, and through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI, that problem will be rid off the face of the earth, man.
Eliminated.
You know how you buy a can of Raid, man? You know, for some insects or whatever the case may be. That's what the Lord is going to do to this place, man.
God. And we see that it's going to be via missiles, man, and fire. Yep. It says, verse 2, and I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about.
Yeah, so everybody's going to turn their missiles on America, man, and ultimately burn this place with fire. As we put out for Revelation 17 earlier, you know, the beast shall hate the her and shall burn her body with fire.
Yep, and then verse 3 it says, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth up in his brigadine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host.
Yep. And that's what ultimately we're going to see to this place, Babylon the Great. And it's all going to result in Babylon the Great being a lake of fire. And some time, man, it's going to be the biggest desert on the face of this earth, man. It talks about in Isaiah, this place shall burn from generation to generations. So that's what we're going to see, man. Every piece of the puzzles that we're currently seeing right now is ultimately what? It's gearing up towards America's demise, man.
That's right.
Yep. But that's pretty much all I had, if you have one more, so.
That was it. Hey, Shalom.
All right, I'm finna pick up the elder right now. Y'all better keep going if you want to. I'm gonna pick up the elder real quick, and I got you too, Yaquan, for that too. But Yahawah BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH, BRAKATAH.
Hey, YAHAWASHI,
BRAKATAH. Yeah, the brother has to head out right now.
But shit, now I heard y'all for a little bit.
Salakia.
No, I said I heard the last end of the lesson. But that's on point. That's exactly what's about to happen to this place, man. You know, as the scripture says, I don't know if y'all grabbed Isaiah 9:5.
I got it right here. This Isaiah 9:5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire.
Yeah, man. So hey, the Lord is about to take this place out, you know, with fire, man. As the judgment that's proclaimed, man. You know, the valley of Jehoshaphat, man. All right, he's gonna gather all the nations, right, to assemble them, you know, for his judgment that's been decreed, man. All right, and hey, how's he gonna like Isaiah 66:15? How is he gonna plead with the nations, man? All right, by fire and his sword shall he plead with all nations, man.
That's right.
You know, hey, the Lord is gonna bring thermonuclear fire down upon this place, mainly here in Babylon, but various parts of the earth, man. You know, it's going to be a hit, man. You know, but hey, Babylon is going to be completely annihilated, man. America is going to be, like the brother has said, that lake of fire, man. You know, as it's spoken of in the scriptures, man. All right? And that's why, hey, you know, hey, we're trying to make our congregation sure to be delivered up out the hell to come, man. We don't want to be Sarah Connors, man. All right, because that's what you got coming, man. A whole bunch of Sarah Connors, man. And it's gonna be it's not gonna be a swift death, man, right? Because the Lord, he controls the perception of time, he controls the perception of pain, so on. So this judgment that's coming, man, it's gonna be in its perfection,
Yep.
But yeah,
I'm finna head out, brothers. Hey, Tawada, from joining me in. I'm finna get that too for you, Yaquad.
Time throw out, bro.
Shalom,
Yep.
Bakia.
BAHASHAM, YAHAWADAH, QADASH, BAHASHAM. Lord, when I see you, brothers later.
The water, bro. Yamar. Shalom.
Yamar.
Yeah. Hey, and as the scripture says, man, he's gonna make a speedy riddance of the land, even all the land, man. All right, hey, them ICBMs is gonna make a quick work, man. Esau, through all his wickedness and through all his wickedness, rape, robbery, and murder, has gathered, all of the world, really, because the earth is given into his hands, man. Esau controls and governs everything, man. But he's gotten it through the means of wickedness, man. And he's built up America off the back of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all that is gonna be destroyed in less than an hour, man. To show you how, how fragile this place is, how weak he actually is, man. Here it is, he done toiled out in generations upon generations, doing all his wickedness to build this empire up, and he didn't, now he's trying to, merge man with machine and all this and that, man. And the Lord, he's gonna wipe all this, take it all away from him in less than an hour, man.
God.
Right? But yeah, that was basically, I just want to add on. I know y'all was about to end it off.
Yeah, kind. We can end it off.
So
the water, bro.
Yeah, call 12 and by giving all praise and glory due to Yahawah, BAHASHAM,
YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH.
Blessed the positive great meal, so real, and say to all you brothers doing this work to sincerity. Cheers. Next time, Shalom, Bob Ball.
Bob, Shalom.
Shalom.